Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kamiko Love from thebudgetmom.com, and today we are going to be doing the step-by-step process on how I close out my budget. So the number one question I get is, can you show what this actually looked like? I always show my worksheets after they have already been filled out, so I thought it'd be fun for us today to actually have you and film what this looks like when I'm actually doing it. So closing out my budget, we're going to be going over my expense trackers and we're going to be filling out the Where Did My Money Go worksheets together. So the first step in closing out my budget is actually going through my cash envelopes. Now, I have all of my cash envelopes in here from June, and it's literally just going through them one by one. So, for instance, let's start with this first one. Now, I already did this, but I'm going to show you the process. In my gas envelope, I had $63 left over that was unused in June. I decided to use that for vacation savings for $63. So that empties out my gas envelope. Now the goal is to empty out your cash envelopes and figure out what you want to do with your leftover cash. So $63 of unused cash in my gas envelope went towards vacation savings. I had $0 left in my household account, or household envelope. So that one I didn't do anything. Now with my food, I had $74 left in cash that was unused in June. I used $2 of that to go towards my 2020 savings challenge. And if you are interested in learning more about the 2020 savings challenges, I'll put a link in the description of this video. And then I decided to use the rest of it for my Costco sinking fund. Now, this is my Costco sinking fund envelope. I use this envelope for big grocery hauls. And we all know that Costco can get expensive, especially if you and your food plan incorporates buying things in bulk. And for me, one of those things is meats. I buy them in bulk from Costco, or sometimes I might use this Costco envelope to buy my meat from a butcher if my family is not butchering themselves, because we do own a cattle farm. But you can see I rolled that $72 into my Costco sinking fund. So that took care of my food envelope and the cash that was unused in June. I had $1 left in my fun envelope. I decided to use that for my 2020 challenge, so that emptied out my fun envelope. Miscellaneous, I didn't touch it in June, so I put the whole $100 that was unused into my vacation savings. Pets, now pets and my beauty envelope are the two envelopes I decided to roll over money from June into July. So I had $230, $20 went to my vacation savings, and the rest, $210, I rolled over into my July envelope. Now, if you look at my pets, here's my new July envelope for my pets. And you can see I rolled over $210, which gives me a new balance of $285 to spend, because I budget $75 a month for my pets. And you can see I rolled over that money into this envelope. Now the beauty, I had $30 left over in beauty, $10 went towards my 2020 savings challenges, and then I decided to roll over $20 from June into July. Here is my new July envelope, and you can see I rolled over $20. I budget $80 a month, so plus the $20 I rolled over gives me a new spending balance of $100. So the first step in the process is going through your current monthly cash envelope for the budget you are closing and getting these emptied out and figuring out what you're going to do with that unused cash. And for me, when I head down to the bank, you can see I saved $183 from my June envelopes, and that is going into vacation savings. The rest of it either went to my Costco sinking fund, or it went into, I rolled it over into the new month with my pets and beauty envelope. So that's the first process. The reason you want to do that is because on your expense trackers, you have to write down what you did. So you can see here, let me just move this book up so you can see it. Here is where I did all of this stuff on 6/29. So from my fun envelope, $25 went towards my $5 challenge. 2020 savings challenges, which I showed you just a second ago, my cash envelopes. And here is the $183 in cash that is going towards my vacation savings. On the other side, you can see that the $72 that went to my Costco sinking fund. So not only are you figuring out what to do with your unused cash, you have to write down what you did with it on your expense trackers so you can make sure that those transactions show up when you're closing out your budget. So that's the first step. With that being said, let's talk about your starting balance. Now today, the day I am closing out my budget, I know a couple of different things. I know I am rolling over some of my cash into July. So the amount I'm rolling over was $20 from my beauty envelope and $210 from my pet envelope, which means that I am walking into July with $230 cash. So if you go to my July expense tracker, I automatically put $230 for my starting balance in cash because that's what I'm starting my new tracking period with. Is that cash that I'm rolling over from my June cash envelopes into my July cash envelopes. I also know, because I keep updated on my expense trackers in June, right now, I keep an updated balance on my expense tracker for my checking account today. As of right now, I have $1,000 in my checking account. So guess what? That's how much I'm starting with in July. On my checking account expense tracker, I have $1,000 as my starting balance. That is what is in my checking account the first day of my new tracking period, which for me is usually the first of the month. I track from the first of the month to the last day of the month. So that's the starting balance and how you figure out that. So if we go back to June, let's start the process of actually starting to close this out. Now, the first one that I want to talk about is, I'm just going to fold this book in half, is my Where Did My Money Go monthly budget category breakdown. Before we fill this out, there's one thing I forgot to mention. On your June expense trackers, you need to tally up your different categories, and I have not done that yet. I wanted to do that here on video so you can see. So people ask me all the time, Miko, why do you highlight your categories? Why do you highlight your expense trackers? This is there's a very specific reason why I highlight, because when I add up my expenses at the end of the month, I can do it by color rather than having to read. So let's do food, for instance. So food for me is all of these light blue colors. So I go through and I add up all the different colors. Okay, so I tallied up this entire page. So this side and any of the expenses I had going on over here. So color coded, everything is filled out for over here. I do the same thing with my checking account. So I start with the light blue, which is my food. Okay, so this is also been filled out. Now, one thing I want to mention, when I am adding up all of my expenses on my checking account expense tracker, because I am dealing with change, I round up to the nearest dollar. So that's why you're not seeing any change. I round up to the nearest dollar. My cash, I already round up when I'm spending it. That's why you see no change with my cash spending. I round up my spending with my cash and I save my change. With my checking account expense tracker, I just round up so it's easier for me to track my spending. So both of these pages have been added up. So my cash spending has been added up, my checking account spending has been added up. Now, when I fill out my monthly budget category breakdown, there's a couple of things I need to start with. So my starting balance for the month of June was the starting balance for cash and my checking account. That means my starting balance was $2,105. And my incoming income for June was $4,832. Gives me a total monthly income in June of, just add these together, $6,937. Now remember, your starting balance is anything that you're walking into your new tracking period with, whether it be cash or in your checking account. Incoming income is things like your paycheck, bonuses, whether you get child support, if you're using gift cards, if you're using any type of savings, that's incoming income. And your starting balance plus your incoming income is going to give you your total monthly income. Now, when you fill out your expenses, you want to add up what you just tallied. You want to add up what's on your checking account expense tracker, and you want to add up what's on your cash, and you want to add them together. So 217 plus 117 equals 334. And you want to do that because that's going to give you the overall amount that you spent on food. So it's not just cash, it's not just checking account, but it's both. And you want to do that for this entire column. So gas and car, if you look at, and you might want to just put a placeholder here so you can flip back easily. So checking account, I did 0 for my gas and car, which means that I did $74 total for gas and car. Household, $62 in cash and $112 in checking, which gives me $174 for household. And you want to do that all the way down, so I'm going to do that very quickly. Now, once this has been filled out, you should always have in your budget categories the starting balance for your new month or your new tracking period. Because remember, every dollar of your income has to have a plan, even if that means you're just putting it as a starting balance into the new month to use it. That's its plan. You're rolling it over into the new month because you plan on spending it in the new month. So for me, my July starting balance is my $1,000 that's in my checking account and the $230 that I rolled over in cash, which means that my July starting balance is 1,230. Now, doing this, it's important. I have these little sticky notes to kind of explain the process of closing out your budget. And I did this before I did the video to show you. So your June starting balance, there's 3 things you need to close out your budget. You need to know your starting balance of the current month that you're closing. You need to know the incoming income during that month, and you need to know your expenses for the month you are closing. And as you can see, I have all 3 of those things. Then you take, I'll put it over here, your starting balance plus your income is going to give you your total monthly income. If you subtract your expenses from that, you're going to get a dollar amount. Do you notice something? My June closing balance, which is right here, should equal my July starting balance, which it does. I have $1,000 in my checking account right now, and I have $230 in cash that I rolled over from June. My current June closing balance of $1,230 equals my July starting balance of $1,230. That's how you know if everything is matching up when you're closing out your budget, and sometimes it won't match. If you're off by a small amount, it's okay. Don't get frustrated, move on and start the new month. That is my number one piece of advice. Don't let those numbers frustrate you. Just take it as it is. Like, I think every month in the last 3 months, I've been off by $1 or so. Even if you're off by $20, it's $20. Just move on and try better next month. So now we have to do the difference. So I take 400 minus 334, gives me 66, and you want to do that all the way down. So this monthly budget area in my monthly category breakdown is, sure, I have limits to my spending that I want to hit every month. For me, because I track my period from the first of the month to the last day of the month, I use that as my tracking period limits. Even though this says monthly budget, it's your tracking period budget. So maybe you track your spending from the first paycheck of this month to the first paycheck last month. How much should you only be spending during that large time frame? Because remember, we are budgeting by paycheck. But you should have a limit to your spending via paycheck as well as for that entire tracking period. That's what these are right here. So I was $66 under my $400 budget in June. So this one's $126. So if I put a little minus here, it just means I was under budget. If I put a plus, I'm over budget. Okay, if it's in pink, I am over. If it's in green, I am under budget. So I'm under budget in food, I'm under budget in gas and car, in utilities, in miscellaneous, I'm under budget in insurance, in my fun category, in James's category. Where I'm over budget, I'm $24 over budget in household. I saved more than what I anticipated. That's why I'm showing over budget in my savings. I spent $42 more than my budget for pets, $130 over budget for my beauty, and then I was able to do a donation in the month of June. So you might be asking, Miko, if you were over budget in these different categories, where did you get the cash from since you're over? Well, I can tell you right now with my beauty category, I knew I was going to be over because I rolled over cash from my beauty envelope from May into June because I had a hair appointment. So I used a sinking fund, or not a sinking fund, but I used unused cash from May into June to cover that beauty expense. I saved more than what I anticipated, as well as like my pet envelope. I also rolled pet money from May into June, which I used for that. Now keep in mind as well, another thing you want to do is you want to add up your monthly spent category because it's going to tell you one thing. If I put a total, I always do a total. Let's add these up. So this total equals 6,935. So I am off right now by $2. I'm not going to worry about it. It's $2. Because remember, when you're working with a zero-based budget, your monthly income minus your expenses should be zero. Because every single dollar of your income should have had a plan and should have been spent somewhere in your budget. So this right here is how much my expenses were. This is how much my income was. So I'm off by $2, it's $2. I'm moving on. So the next thing that I want to fill out is my total monthly debt and savings breakdown. Now I don't have debt, but I do have savings. So in the month of June, I go over here to savings and I saved $3,474 in the month of June. And I know my monthly income was $6,937. So the percent of income saved for me would be the 3,474 divided by my monthly income. I saved, oopsies, not dollar amount. And I always keep white out too by me because I work in pen. About 50% of my income went towards savings. Now, the whole point of this worksheet is it's important to know, yes, how much did you save total for the month? But what's even more important is what did you save for specifically? This sheet is going to tell you if your spending is aligning with your financial goals. Where are you throwing your money? And same here, you would fill out the debt area the exact same way. What debt are you paying off specifically? What is your priority? Is that aligning with what your spending is where your spending is going? So for me, in savings, I saved for a couple of different things. I know I saved for sinking funds. I know I saved for my $5 challenge. I know I saved for my 2020 savings challenges. I know I saved for vacation. And I know I saved for my financial freedom account. This financial freedom account, and I also saved for my 529. I know that my financial freedom account is a brokerage TOD. It's a individual investment retirement account. I am using it to help me retire early. So essentially, I have automatic contributions every month that go into this investment account. That's what, if you're wondering what financial freedom savings account is. So, how did I come up with this information? These specific things I'm saving for? Because if you go back to your expense trackers, you can see if you are filling out your expense tracker correctly in the transaction, it tells you, like I'm saving for car maintenance, which is a sinking fund, vacation, home insurance, property taxes, Disneyland, landscaping, financial freedom, 529, financial freedom, vacation savings. I know based on my expense tracker where I'm saving my money and what I'm saving it for. Now for my sinking funds, I don't list all those out separately. I lump them together under the sinking funds title. So like my car maintenance is a sinking fund, my home insurance is a sinking fund, my property tax is a sinking fund, landscaping is a sinking fund. So I total those all together. So what I do is I go through and I add up all of those different categories for my savings. So for my sinking funds, I was able to save $1,311. For my $5 challenge, I was able to save $60. 2020 challenge, I was able to save $103. Vacation, I was able to save $1,250. My financial freedom account was $300, and my 529 was $450. And you do that by adding up all of your different savings transactions on your expense tracker. So see all these $5 challenges? I add all those up and I add it to my savings category breakdown. Now to get the percent of category saved, you take the amount you saved, 1311, divided by your total monthly savings, and that's going to give you a percentage. So for me, this looks like 1, 2, so 30, we'll say this one's 38. So this one will say it's 2%. I round up on my percentages. Sometimes it equals exactly 100%, sometimes it doesn't just because my rounding. And these are percentages. And what I like to do the total and make sure that it matches up here to make sure I'm doing it right. So 1311 plus 60 plus 103 plus 1250 plus 300 plus 450 equals 3474. So I know all of this equals a 3474, so that matches. And then sometimes I'll add up the percentage just to see if I'm getting close to 100%. Yeah, we're at 101. That's just due to rounding up. So what I like to do here is I like to write down top 3. What are the top 3 things that I saved for? So looking at this, we have sinking funds. That's number 1. The next one we have is vacation. That's number 2. Number 3 is 529. Now, when I look at these, are these the most important things to me? Is this where my priorities are? Because that's where my money went. And your priorities should match where your dollars are going. So sinking funds was a saving for my future. Vacation and 529, those are my priorities. The next worksheet we're going to fill out is my monthly spending comparison. Now, one of the things that I like to track, was there an income change from last month to this month? So in May, if you look at my May expense trackers and my worksheets that I filled out, May I had a total monthly income of $7,531. And remember, in June, my income was only $6,937, which means that I had a decrease in income from May into June of $594. And we'll talk about why this is important to know. So I fill out this area. You already filled that out here. It's right here on your monthly category breakdown. So I just literally copy this information over here. So for food, I spent $334, and here 75. Household utilities, miscellaneous savings, pet, 0, beauty, fun, G. And once I add all these here, I like to write down my total, which these all equal 5705. Now, on my percent of budget, what you would do is you would take the amount you spent in that category divided by the percent of income. So, oh, no. Sorry. Okay, go back. Wait a minute. You would use this, which we never filled out. So the monthly category breakdown, what you do is you take total spent in that category divided by your total monthly income. So 334 divided by 6937, it's about 5%. So I'm just going to fill these out. And I have these already done just to save time and for the purpose of this video. 50%, 2%, 0%, 3%, 2%. Okay, so you have your percent of income. Now this is really to show you where your dollars went. So I could say to myself, 5% of my income went towards food. Are you happy with that amount? Can it be decreased? I also see that I'm 50% went towards savings. I'm very happy with that. So you can use those percentages that you calculated on your monthly budget category breakdown right here. And I'll tell you here, so 1%, household is 2%, utilities 8%, 0, savings is 50%, pet is 2%, 0, insurance is 6%, 3% there, 0, 2%, 2%, 18%. Okay, and this adds up to 100%. So, why is this important? Are you hitting your small financial goals that you are setting for yourself from month to month? Because remember, this financial journey isn't just about the overall long-term financial goals, but there's other goals that you have to meet in between and along the way. These are smaller goals. I spent 14% of my income in May went to food. I dropped that down to 5%. Now 14 is usually very high for me, but let's look at some other areas. So my utilities went down 1%. I only spent 8% of my income in utilities. But here was where I was really challenging myself. I was challenging myself to cut down on my food and my household spending. And I was only $3 less in my household in May into June, but that's still a win. I'm still decreasing it. So this is for you to compare month to month to make sure you are meeting those small financial goals along the way. All right, so the next thing on your monthly spending category or spending comparison is you can do the change in dollars from month to month. So in May, I spent $1,087 in food. Now don't forget, that's when I did my ginormous Costco haul. So that is not normal for me. And I am usually around the $300 to $400 range. So 1,087 minus 334, that was $753. And then for my car spending, $75 minus the 49, that's 26. And what I like to do, if it's in green, I spent less than. If it's in red, I spent more than. So you can see here, like for instance, for my food, I spent less in June than I did in May. So it gets green. And I $753 less. So for my car, I spent more in June than I did in May by $26. So that's gonna be in pink. So that's how I fill out the rest of this section. So that is a quick overview on how I close out my budget every single month. Now, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people are going to look at this and they'll say that's too much work. That takes too much time. Right now, it takes me currently about 10 to 15 minutes every single month to close out my budget. But I guarantee you, I learn and get so much more out of that than the 15 minutes I spend doing it. This is critical. Closing out your budget, analyzing your spending, looking at where your money is going, and asking yourself and seeing for yourself if your spending is aligning with your financial goals. We have to make sure that where we are throwing our money is going to things that actually matter to us. And this is one way that we are able to see that there is no denying it once you look at your spending if things are happening with your money the way that you want them to. So let's talk about why it's important to know if there's been an income change from one tracking period to the next. As you saw in my video, my income decreased from June into July. And there's many different reasons for that. Maybe I didn't have as much incoming income. Maybe I wasn't using as much savings as I was the previous month. Maybe I wasn't using any type of gift card income one month to the next. So there's a lot of different reasons. But if your income is increasing or decreasing, your spending better be compensating for that increase or decrease. In your spending, when you're looking at your monthly spending comparison, where is your incoming or where is your expenses decreasing or increasing based on that increase or decrease in your income? So this is how I close out my budget. If you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe. If your income changed from one month to the last month. So let's talk about why it's important to know whether you've had an income change from tracking period to tracking period.
Toby?
You a dirty doggy. Time for a bath.